Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to take you on a journey through the past, through the present, and into the future, to a time when there will be no more 6 o'clock show.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I'd like to take you back 6.5 years to January the 8th, 1982. To millions of television viewers in the southeast of England, it was a significant day. At 6 o'clock that evening, 3 shy and nervous young broadcasters stepped before the cameras and stammered a greeting. Janet Street Porter, myself, and a young lad still wearing his school cap, Danny Baker. The 6 o'clock show was born. But tonight is an even more significant date in the history of British television, the very last 6 o'clock show, the end of an era. In fact, these 2 young ladies who have joined me, we have Teresa from Hackney, and we have Carly from Rotherhithe. They were born on that momentous day in January 1982. They have never known life without the 6 o'clock show. Certainly look healthy, is extraordinary. After tonight, the old team go their own separate ways and won't be seen on television again for several hours. Are we downhearted? Certainly, but we're going out in style, and in tonight's show we'll be taking a look at how our area has changed over the past 6.5 years. We'll be finding out what's happening right now and taking a peek into the future. Emma Freud is about to head upriver for a little lesson right now. Emma.
Michael, the reason that I'm dressed up like an extra from South Pacific is because tonight we're going upstream to find out just how old Father Thames has changed over the past 6 years. I'll be joined by a few special guests. We'll be sharing a few memories, shedding a few tears, and drinking some of this. Wallop!
Did she say wallop? Anyway, she doesn't understand these things. That takes care of the view from the ground. Joanna Kaye is about to become our very own eye in the sky.
Yes, Mike, we're still 1,000 feet up above London, and now we're over the city. Who could forget the sort of things that's happened down here since we've been on the air? In October 1986 was the Big Bang, when lots of people went out and bought Porsches, and then in October 1987 came Black Monday, when all those people had to trade in their Porsches for BMWs. How boring all that was, and who understood any of it anyway? Now, somewhere around here, slightly to the right here, is the Lloyds building, which wasn't there when we started. That was opened in 1986. Cost millions and millions and millions of pounds to build, and apparently it's known as the largest coffee percolator in the world. Can't imagine why. It's also one of the top 10 places visited in London. As you can see, the views from up here are absolutely spectacular. I expect you're all extremely envious of us back there in the studios. Join us again later for more news of the views. Michael.
Thank you, Joanna. Fascinating.
Anyway, I'll be joined in the studio by the immortal Danny and Chris, and by that same shy and gentle young girl who helped me launch the 6 o'clock show all those years ago, Janet Street Porter. First, though, here's LWT News with Pam Royle for the first of tonight's regional bulletins.
Hello. Fear of AIDS has closed breast milk banks at some hospitals in the region, but others are staying open, and experts are divided over whether it's safe for them to do so. The details in a moment. Also tonight, an MP condemns a book that turns drunken British holidaymakers into heroes. 100 men lose their jobs in a row between 2 building firms, and London cabbies get some tips on how to talk to tourists. But first, the confusion over a DHSS circular warning of the dangers of AIDS from donated breast milk. The department says all donors should be blood tested and the milk heat treated, but some hospitals are carrying on without blood tests, while others have closed their milk banks. Stuart Maister reports.
Already at least one breast milk bank in the southeast has closed down because of the guidelines, which say potential donors should be known to be HIV negative. Mothers will have to answer a questionnaire, but will almost certainly have to have a blood test as well, which critics say will deter them from donating milk.
They would find that the amount of testing, the amount of counselling and the amount of information required to allow them to do it would be too intrusive. I really think that most milk banks will close.
Milk is already heat-treated, which until now has been seen as enough to kill the virus. The DHSS insists the heat treatment is not enough. It feels future mothers will understand the need to protect premature babies like these, which the milk is intended for. The unit which is closed is in Farnborough in Kent, which says the guidelines are impossible to operate. Some hospitals are ignoring the DHSS advice, but others say they'll be forced to look at whether they can continue with their milk banks, so urgently needed by these young babies. Stuart Maister, LWT News.
A book that makes fun of drunken behaviour by British hooligans abroad has been attacked by travel agents as irresponsible. It's been on sale at bookstalls across London. Stephen Gardner reports.
For most of its customers, this is the familiar face of W.H. Smith's, distinctly more inclined to the conventional than the risque. But the arrival of this book threatens the image. The Beach Party, The Last Resort, tells of the antics of a group of beer-swilling British holidaymakers in Spain, more amused by tearing bars apart and molesting women than sunbathing. But the joke is dismissed as sick by the Association of British Travel Agents. Their parliamentary representative, Tom Sackville, says there's quite enough hooliganism abroad without further encouragement.
There are a lot of young people in this country who probably shouldn't be let outside the confines of Borstal, let alone our national borders. And some of them are very impressionable, and some of them need just this bit of a lead to start beating up the place.
Despite being in the travel business themselves, the company insists the book is simply a bit of fun. W.H. Smith's isn't unknown for taking moral stands. A few years ago, the satirical magazine Private Eye was banned from its shelves. As for this latest addition to its literary repertoire, it waits to be seen whether it provides just a few jokes or a few hints to Britain's thugs abroad. Stephen Gardner, LWT News.
11 Metropolitan Police officers have been awarded £160,000 libel damages against the Evening Standard. The High Court award concerns a series of articles which, the officers claim, suggested they were guilty of beating up 5 schoolboys. Later, other police officers were convicted of the attack. A sailing centre at Thorpe Bay near Southend has been closed because of the high levels of sea pollution. Essex County Council said today the centre, which teaches children from age 7, is on the most polluted stretch of beach. The county says pollution on Southend Beach is up to 6 times the EEC danger level, a claim which is disputed by the Borough Council. A 78-year-old Hungarian woman who's been in a mental hospital for nearly 50 years finally went home today. Maria Tandy left Heathrow for Budapest. She was sent to Claybury Hospital in Woodford Green just before the Second World War. She couldn't persuade anyone she was well enough to be released until she was interviewed by a Hungarian-speaking official. Well, as you may have heard from ITN, Gatwick has been hard hit again today by air delays which have forced thousands of holidaymakers to spend up to 24 hours camped in the departure lounge. Tonight, still more are on the way by train from Victoria, and Mark Dyson is there. Mark.
For many people, this is where the holiday starts. Platform 12, Victoria. That's the Gatwick Express. It'll be leaving in a few minutes' time. But many passengers are resigned for a long wait at Gatwick.
Not very good. Not very good. But what else can we do? That's the problem. We can't do anything else. It's not very nice to feel that you maybe have to stay there for one day, but we have to take the chance and go out there and hope the best.
We hope we are the lucky ones that just go straight through, but, well, probably not it.
Well, the very latest news from Gatwick is that the people already there might have to wait until tomorrow morning for their planes, but those leaving here now will probably only have a 3 or 4 hour wait, so it's not as bad as it could have been. Pam.
Thanks for the good news, Mark. Building workers are threatening to bring work on the new £240 million British Library to a standstill on Monday. 100 workers on the Euston site were made redundant this afternoon after one of the subcontractors pulled out. John Cookson reports.
The redundant men work for a company called Vogue Developments. They were given the contract for building work, but major problems, including flooding and gas escapes, caused Vogue to pull out. The men say they're willing to do the work and that the main contractor, Molam, should take them on.
The men are very, very angry at what's happened here now. It's well out of order. They want the jobs. We work here. We've worked here for 10, 11 months. Some fellas have served with this firm for over 12 years. I mean, and they're getting laid off. Putting a scrappy, I think it's terrible. It shouldn't be allowed to happen.
While the men step up their picket, which they say will bring the site to a standstill from Monday, Vogue issued a statement. It said it regretted the situation and that had the company had more time to sort something out, all the men would have been re-employed. The first phase of the £240 million library at Euston is due to open in 1993. It's been beset with difficulties since work started 4 years ago. John Cookson, LWT News.
The fate of the historic Lyceum Theatre has been raised in Parliament. Labour MPs Tony Banks and John Cummings want the government to block its sale to an entertainment group who plan to turn it into a cabaret nightclub. The theatre's owners, the London residuary body, says it's done the deal with Brent Walker because it was legally bound to get the best price. Camden's crackdown on parking cheats is paying off. 11 people have been arrested so far, including a barrister. They've all been charged with criminal damage. A special squad of police has been cracking down on people who jam meters and illegally obtain parking permits. A family house in Hampstead is at the centre of a row between art lovers and local residents. It was the home of the landscape artist Constable. His admirers want to buy it and turn it into a museum, but neighbours say it's too small and a museum would be out of place in the residential street. A couple from Bermondsey have answered the call of the wild. They've turned part of an inner-city park into a breeding ground for threatened species, which are then returned to the open countryside.
This young owl hatched 5 months ago, and in a few days' time he'll be let loose in the wild. The barn owl is one of many endangered species they breed in this sanctuary in Southwark. The incubator room's currently full of pheasant and peacock eggs. The sanctuary is run by Doug and Linda Potter on land leased to them by Southwark Council in return for breeding fish for stocking up the borough's own ponds.
Things are getting so bad in built-up areas now that we definitely need a place like this to put some of these creatures back into the world.
And you're the only people doing it in London?
Oh, yes.
Already thousands of birds owe their survival to the sanctuary, but the survival of the sanctuary itself is now in doubt because of shortage of money. Apart from the occasional small grant, most of their finance comes from selling animals to pet shops, and the threat of closure constantly hangs over their heads.
We don't know what we would do, and we don't know, where the animals would go or anything.
Nevertheless, the Potters' plan is to expand. Already they're getting some visits from school parties, and soon, when all the building work's finished, they plan to open the sanctuary to the public, so people can see the conservation work at first hand. Mark Dyson, LWT News.
London's cabbies, always happy to take a tip, are being offered tips of a different kind. How to talk nicely to tourists. They're taking language lessons.
Well, hello, good morning. Welcome to Kingsway Course. We're delighted to see you. We hope you're going to spend a really nice time with us for the next 2 weeks.
London cabbies love tourists, but trying to speak to the Spanish and jabber with the Japanese is a bit difficult when you don't speak of the lingo. So they've gone back to school to learn how to translate all those time-honoured cabbie phrases like
Buenos dias. Try it all together. Buenos dias. Right. Let's sound really friendly. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
There's also the well-known Mind Your Head Gov.
Por favor, atención. Atención la cabeza.
Now class is over, they've got full marks from Miss.
Know whether taxi drivers are more extrovert than other people, but really marvellous.
And it's time to hit the tourist trail.
Are you looking forward to getting out there and talking to them in their own language?
Alan Dilly was a bit nervous about his Spanish, but the big moment arrives and...
Buenos días.
Ah, buenos días, señor.
¿Me pudiera hacer el favor de llevarme a la estación Victoria?
Sí, señor.
He was a big hit. Classes at Kingsway College in London continue from Monday, and for the cabbies who miss them, well, there's always pidgin English. John Cookson, LWT News.
Some people making news in the region today. Alfred Marsden, a 61-year-old grandad from Downley near High Wycombe, has been nominated as a Temp of the Year. He'll be competing against 100 other temps for the £1,000 first prize. An anti-aircraft crew received an award today for shooting down a German aircraft nearly 50 years ago. The 6 gunners, all members of the Glenmouth Ex-Servicemen's Club in Dartford, were presented with the plane's propeller blade. A railway guard in Docklands is bringing some light relief to passengers with his own impromptu cabaret. Mick the Mike lets the train take the strain with a non-stop show of jokes, songs and special messages.
All the world's a stage, including, it seems, Docklands Light Railway, where for the price of a ticket, Mick the Mike plays travelling host.
Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I love London town.
Officially classified as train captain, 26-year-old Mike Ambrose was determined from the start to do more than just collect tickets, and now there's no stopping him.
Basically, I point out landmarks, a little bit of history concerning the railway, and generally just giving the public something different, something new, and basically letting them enjoy themselves on the train.
Now, you've been known to tap dance, haven't you?
I have been known, yes. You're going to ask me to do it now, aren't you?
Yeah, I probably will, actually. Can you give us a little tap dance here?
I can give you a little tap dance. Are you ready now? Okay.
With some passengers even prepared to miss their stop to get a good seat, this is one show that's set to run and run. Stephen Gardner, LWT News.
Pass the hat round. Well, for the penultimate time, Michael, from us, it's back to you.
Yes, we have one more little encounter, don't we? Thank you, Pam, and welcome back to the last ever 6 o'clock show. This is the last time I'll be chatting to Chris and Danny. You're looking very comfortable, lads.
Very comfortable, good chairs this week. Very briefly, I might say that being a sentimental old fluff, the biggest events in this overweight presenter's life in the last 6.5 years have been the introduction of these two people to the world. They are my children. Yes, old vaudeville routine. One is called 6-0, the other Clock Show. No, they're funny and sunny, and hello, kids. That's it.
That's the peak of your 6.5 years. It's extraordinary thing.
From me, yeah.
Well, thank goodness I've kept myself to myself all these years. 6.5 years ago, there was... look, we're going through a list today. There was no portable phone, there was no car phone, there were no yappies, there were no perestroika, there was no BT shares, there were no gas shares, there was no SID, there was no air traffic controllers strikes, there were no microwaves, there was no Wham, there was no Kylie Minogue, there was no Neighbours, there was no EastEnders, there was no Channel 4.
There's no end to this either, is there?
That's My Dog, there was no Joan Rivers, there was no Jonathan Ross. Ross were 10.5 and 11.5 years old. Frank Bruno was 19, Mike Tyson was 14, if only Frank could afford him then. And you could buy a 3-bedroom house in Fulham for £42,000. Mike.
Mr. Chris.
And there was no Daniel Aspel either, he's 4. Earlier in the show, we heard from Joanna Kaye, who was taking a look at how our area has changed over the last few years from the air. Come in, Joanna.
This is the M25 coming southbound towards the start of the tunnel, and that's it down on your left then.
Terrific. Well, I'm assured by my trusty pilot, Mike, that the place that we hear so much about on the radio every morning is just down here. It's already at M25, and yes, wouldn't you just know it, an enormous traffic jam building up there. Now, when the 6 o'clock show first hit the screen, the M25 was just a twinkle in the planner's eyes, and it took 39 public inquiries lasting over 700 days before it was finally completed in about October 1986. It's 117 miles long and cost £1,000 million to build. That's even more than you earn on voiceovers, Tarrant. Over 150,000 vehicles use it every day or try to use it. Traffic jams have been known to stretch over 20 miles. Now, after the 6 o'clock show finishes, the roads in London and West London are scheduled to change a lot. They're talking about a double-decker M25 and toll roads all over the place. Sounds like an awful lot of roadworks if you ask me. Anyway, I've decided that this is the only way to travel. Michael, back to you in the studio.
Tarjo, meanwhile, Emma is heading upriver.
Windy, but all right.
Can you... Hello, Michael, yes! We're out here at a Wapping now. We're just passing that part of the river. Wapping 6.5 years ago was a bit of a rubbish heap, but it's now, you know, completely changed, as has the whole face of newspapers. I mean, when we first went on the air, we did not have Today, we did not have The Independent, and we did not have Sunday Sport. And that's going straight into it. We also didn't have Eve Pollard as the editor of the Sunday Mirror magazine. Eve, how has journalism changed since you've been, you know, over the last 6 years?
Well, we now have new technology, so we have magic computers that speed the message along, not the old-fashioned typewriter and millions of pieces of paper in the newspaper and wastepaper baskets. I think the journalists are younger, we're selling more papers and we're selling to more readers, and I think we're probably a little more sober than we used to be.
Surely not.
Oh, yes.
What a tragedy. You are the sort of the first lady of Fleet Street, just about the last lady left there. Is it not a little bit lonely now?
Oh, no, there are still some newspapers left in Fleet Street, but luckily we're staying there. It is lonely. I mean, it was a wonderful village, and like all villages that die, one's sad that it dies, but we're getting used to it, and people travel to the Isle of Dogs or to Wapping to see their mates and get the gossip, and Elvino still remains, you know.
Good. Glad to hear it. Eve Pollard, thank you very much indeed. Come and join us later, Michael. We'll be meeting a great politician. We'll see you then.
Thank you, Emma. Cue Michael. And most of the changes we've seen over the past few years have been brought to you first by the 6 o'clock show. And here's Emma again with a guide to all our yesterdays.
Do we remember? How can we forget? Was this really to be the transport of the future? Mr. Sinclair's version of the electric dream? 3 wheels, a plastic bath chair and a battery. And if the C5 didn't get you very far, the curse of the Denver boot arrived to stop you dead in your tracks. Parking meters, yellow lines, towing away, none of these seemed to deter the most ardent motorist in London. Then one rainy day in May 1983, the city was horrified by the emergence of the clamp, which to date has paralysed nearly 500,000 motorists.
It was on this spot 5 years ago that this man here entered the Metropolitan History book, because he is the first man ever to have his car clamped.
Yes. I left the car here evening, and in the morning I've been to shop to work it. Couple of hours after, somebody came and said, Mr. Smith, you got clamp. I said, what clamp? I said, clamp. What does it mean, clamp?
When you first saw it, did you know what it was?
I didn't know what's it. I heard it on the last night television night before. Tomorrow starting clamp. But I don't know what it means. When I saw it on the clamp on the wheel, I said, bloody hell, what is this?
The other big motoring innovation of the 80s is inter-car communication. To Mark George, being on the move and on the phone is the business.
Has 2 lines on it.
So 2 lines?
Yeah, I can have 2 lines and I can have party conference calling, so I can phone 3 people. And then I've got up here a microphone, so I don't have to have hands off the steering wheel, because you get pulled the whole time by the police if you're doing that. And I have an answering machine, which is electronic on a computer, so that when someone rings in, my voice says, please leave a message, and leave a message to tell me the time, the date they left it, and everything else.
In 6 years, we've come a long way from the old phone box that never took your money. Since 1985, some 350,000 people have outdated the phone card and answering machine and gone mobile. To the yapping yappy, the Vodafone provides freedom to mix business with pleasure.
I want bed and breakfast. No, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to talk to my agent. It's got to the stage now where getting a phone call can mean the difference between losing or receiving a contract. So you can understand that some people are a little bit loath to leave it behind, even in a posh restaurant like this in Covent Garden. Hello, table booked in the name of Freud.
Good afternoon, yes. Shall I look after your telephone? I put it on the side, because you can't take it to the table, I'm afraid.
No, it's mine.
I asked the customer nicely, to give me the phone, and I can put it somewhere safe. Or if he doesn't want to give me the telephone, he can take it with him as long as he switches it off. So it doesn't work, it doesn't disturb the others, it doesn't ring.
And what difference has all this modern technology made to the business community? Has it gone off with a bang?
Jesus. Hello? Well, I can't hear.
What happened?
Listen to that.
You got cut off?
No, that's what you were, sort of. That's what happens all the time.
How often do you get that?
Every day, about 20 times on average.
You're kidding?
Yep.
Why?
Just because the system doesn't work.
And what about the computer that continues to invade our lives? In 1982, only 1 in 36 homes were plugged in. Today, it's 1 in 6. And it's all bought on credit. 6 years ago, a mere 6 million Londoners carried at least one piece of plastic. Today, nearly 11 million never leave home without them. And with the high street awash with dosh, the retailers have cleaned up their act. Sophie Merman, the founder of Sock Shop, footed the revolution in 1983.
No, but I think that generally the high street has become much more clean and presentable than it was certainly 5-6 years ago, with people like Next, with people like Body Shop, and with people like Sock Shop.
In the past 6 years, as well as seeing the Next directory, designer shopping by post, we've also seen Next, Next for Men, Next 2, Next Accessories, Next Originals, Next Interiors, Next Jewellers, Next BG, and Essential Next. Whatever will they think of next? Next best?
We found style on a budget, but unfortunately not houses. The 6 o'clock show's lifetime has seen house prices in London rise at an average of 30% a year. So what's it meant to the hopeful dwellers of Battersea? Jane Landy gave us the details.
For instance, this house, we sold this in 1982 for $53,950, and it's just come back on the market, and we've got an offer of $153,000, which is a rise of 283%.
And of course, the faces we can't forget. Or can we?
We will get along with it wrong.
Not
I love being first in things, you know. See what happens tomorrow.
Hold on, sir. It's quite enough there.
Well, certainly they did look pretty freakish.
We have had this problem facing us of the provision of this facility for a long time.
Well, that was nice. Had a happy ending there. Our guest this evening is my partner from that very first show, Janet Street Porter. Hello, Janet. Well, you haven't changed a bit.
I see you've still got the same terrible suit on.
I was just going to say, I've always liked that dress, so I crossed over my... We didn't think this show had a chance, did we, when it started?
Oh, no. And do you remember, before the show went out, there was a pilot, that's a tryout show, where we were doing an item about a very well-behaved chimpanzee. And in the middle of the show, it ran behind the cameras and ran all through the audience, kind of doing all sorts of naughty things in its nappy, and then ran up into the scenery. Thought we were going to get closed down right there and then.
What about your own items? What do you remember best of those, or worst?
Worse. Well, I always seem to get the stories that involve getting very cold, very wet, and having to wait an awfully long time to go to the toilet. Like, it was me that was sent to the Derby, and I decided to wear new shoes, and of course, they really hurt. And I had to go to the plebby bit that didn't have any toilets. And I was there from like 9 o'clock in the morning, and as that people got drunker and drunker, I was trying to interview them to no avail. And they had all these portaloos in little tents. And of course, when they got really, really drunk, they were pushing them over with the people inside, and so I couldn't go. It was desperate.
Happy days. And you did the item on underpants, male underpants.
Yes, I had to. It was ghastly. I had to go down Leather Lane and ask men who were passing by what kind of underpants they had on. Did they wear Y fronts, and were they sexier than boxer shorts? And it was nearly a riot.
Yeah. And you and I, of course, got very close. People began to talk, so we had to stop.
Yeah.
We shall be back in a moment with a report on why Pepsi were fighting Coke at last night's Michael Jackson concert, so join us after the break.
Now the Condor's no price in it. Oh, Condor mild. Same old Condor, such a mild have been sort of thing. Oh well, welcome aboard, old boy. Yes, I vividly remember my first pipe full of Condor. We were just rounding the Cape. Bit of a typhoon going up. The captain turned to me and said, "What time is
Nothing
it?"
should disturb that Condor moment.
0% finance. That's what you get from Nissan. The new Micras and Sunnies have exceptional levels of equipment, and right now we're offering you our best deal. Free finance on all new Micras and Sunnies. Nissan. No one gives you more. Or less.
Champion's soft grain bread has all the goodness of wheat, rye and maize, plus 30% more fibre than ordinary white. It's the stuff Champions are made of.
Hurry, hurry! This weekend only at Queensway, save an extra £50 on all sale prices when you spend £500 or more. Extra discounts this weekend only at Queensway.
Now, here's a rare sight. In the constellation called the Tube, several bright blue objects have appeared. Known as NBS or New Blue Smarties, you can see them for a few weeks only. Why they're blue and on view for such a short time, well, only Smarties have the answer. So do look out for them before they disappear.
Hey, let's stop for a Diet Pepsi. Let's forget about it.
No, come on, snap.
When you go all out for taste, go for Diet Pepsi, now with no saccharin.
Now, how do we get back in?
Okay, come on, let's go. You got the keys?
Taste the difference with Diet Pepsi.
This is not a problem.
A day's freedom to travel all over London by train, underground and bus. The one-day Capitalcard. More power to swan around London.
Hello again. You are watching the last ever 6 o'clock show. Last night, oh, shut up. Last night saw Michael Jackson's first British concert on his world tour. 72,000 people packed Wembley to see him perform, and the whole event was planned and run like a military operation. There was even a behind-the-scenes battle, as Chris discovered.
As you can probably see, this is Coca-Cola country. All the shops around Wembley sell it, and all the windows have got great big signs like this in. But if you want to ask for Coca-Cola today, do it quietly, because tonight Michael Jackson's here in concert. And Michael Jackson means Pepsi, and Pepsi means mega millions for Jackson. He promotes their products, they sponsor his concerts, and they're making sure everyone knows it. Megastar Jackson is just one marketing tactic in a fight that goes back a long way. Consumer journalist John Diamond.
Both Pepsi and Coke were introduced in the last century as health drinks. This is sort of the Lucozade of its generation. They improved the system. They improved the bowel system. They made you regular. They were promoted for all the reasons that 19th century health tonics were promoted. They saved your life, essentially.
And from these rather unusual medicinal beginnings, a multi-million mega war has developed between the two drinks giants. And Wembley Stadium is the latest battleground. Normally I come here and buy a can of Coke. I can't tonight. I've got to have Pepsi, apparently.
Right. Pepsi has the porch here, has the signage here. And from my point of view, I work for Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is a Pepsi artist. So it is my job as well as the Pepsi people's job to have Pepsi visible.
And they were certainly making sure everyone was aware of their presence. All Coca-Cola signs have been covered over, and Pepsi plan to trample the opposition underfoot. What happens if somebody like me sneaks in a Coca-Cola can? You're going to break every bone in my body, what?
No, I just take the Coke can, pour it out, throw it in the garbage can.
But Coca-Cola hadn't been prepared to let them have it all their own way on this tour.
What Coke did at Paris was almost clever as these things go. They floated a balloon over the top of all these Pepsi-drinking Michael Jackson fans. And they're all down there drinking Pepsi, watching Jackson do the sort of things he does in the Pepsi ad. And over the top is this damn great Zeppelin with Coca-Cola written over it. And someone got a promotion for that.
Coca-Cola have no such tricks up their sleeves for Wembley, but that doesn't mean they're going to take defeat lying down. Northern Europe President Ralph Cooper.
So I'm quite sure that retailers will be making Coca-Cola available wherever people get together, and certainly outside Wembley, a lot of people will be gathering.
So there'll be an awful lot of Coke available just outside the ground?
I would imagine so. Retailers want to sell the leading brand, and certainly a lot of people who will be attending that concert are Coca-Cola consumers.
Excuse me, madam, just can we see all the full... And they had their friends at Wembley, too. Realise that this whole thing is sponsored massively by Pepsi-Cola.
Why do you think I got this on?
Well,
exactly.
From some of the men I've met inside who are basically the size of mountains.
Yes.
I think you have every chance of having every bone in your body broken if you go with that on.
I don't think I've got my mind up.
I bet you any money that you do not come out of the concert tonight with that T-shirt on.
Well, I'll come out with the other one on underneath.
What's
and
that?
if
What's all that?
that's Coca-Cola. And if that one comes off, it's just me and my bra.
So, back inside the stadium, with only hours until the megastar himself goes on stage, the last-minute preparations were being completed. The hallowed Wembley turf is covered. Final security arrangements are made. And most important of all, the cups are ready to quench the thirst of all those screaming Jackson fans. So, everything's ready inside the stadium, an enormous crowd now just waiting for Michael Jackson, and not a can of Coca-Cola inside. It's going to be a great concert. Cheers.
So, Janet, you were there. Ever
Yeah,
seen anything like it?
Well, I went to see Michael Jackson, and it was a bit like watching a dinky toy through binoculars the wrong way round. There was this tiny little stick insect about that far away in through my binoculars, and the only drink I could get in my part was Arthur Bitter, and the man behind it emptied his packet of crisps all over my head and into my beer. Thank you very much if you're watching tonight. So I made my excuses and left, but the bit I saw was pretty good. But
You didn't stay for the whole show?
No, I'm afraid I didn't, because I didn't want to get trapped in a multi-storey car park, as all people who go to Wembley a lot know. But I went to the Bros concert the other week just to prove I'm a real glutton for punishment. And their concert at Hammersmith Odeon was sponsored by Pepsi too, and you could only buy Coca-Cola in the foyer.
Aren't they doing Coca clothes as well, no?
Yes, and do you know, I heard the other week that Perrier are going to do Perrier clothes. This is on the drawing board. Perrier, I don't know whether they'll inflate with bubbles when you put them on.
And also, the Coca-Cola people won't actually mention the word Pepsi at all. They say the P word.
Right, change the subject. Emma is afloat in the middle of the river somewhere. Can you hear me, Emma?
I can indeed, Michael. Now, the thing that's really changed on the river in the past few years since we've been on the air is communication. Somewhere over there, just round the corner, not really responding to their cue, is the Thames bus, which is the first passenger bus that goes up and down the Thames. But the thing that's really taken off is windsurfing, so much so that some nutter has invented the first inflatable windsurfer. You can see him there, his name is Simon. You're right, Simon? Very well, thank you. Good, having a good time. Incidentally, we had special permission for Simon to do that, so any children watching at home don't come and windsurf on the Thames. Oh, and look, there's the Thames Line bus now. We're heading that way. We'll see you later. Bye. Hello.
Very exciting, this. Anyway, most weeks on the 6 o'clock show, that's the show, isn't it? Yes, 6 o'clock show, we managed to persuade some celebrity to be our guest, and Danny has details of someone whose career we gave a bit of a boost to.
Yes, must be 3 or 4 years ago now, and this particular man's agent, they came to us and they said, would you put him on? He's just starting a little comedy show on Channel 4 late at night. He'll be very good for your show. Well, we didn't trust him, so we actually got in Ken Livingstone as well to back him up in case he couldn't quite carry it off. See if you can remember who this man was. I don't know quite what happened to him. Can we roll the VT, because he's had kind of night at the moment, isn't it? Yes, I think any minute, any hour now.
You don't have culture in Australia. That film was the greatest load of rubbish I've ever seen.
Yeah. Stick around.
We have a Labor government now. It gets worse.
Jimmy Savile, as I live and breathe. No. Yes, you're Jimmy Savile, actually, sitting alongside of me. Yes, Paul Hogan, who went on from strength to strength purely because of this show. Get on with it, mate.
That's it, is
That's
it?
the end of it.
It was very, very good. Of course, the 6 o'clock show isn't really about famous faces. It's concerned with the doings of people of all shapes and sizes in our area. Our audience, in fact, as Chris will explain.
Yes, that's right. Our viewers, where would we be without them? And also our studio audience. Over the years on film, we put innocent male passers-by in skirts. We've asked people to eat rotting shark's meat. Before my time. We've asked people to drink neat vodka. That was during my time. And show us their underpants. In fact, it was Janet herself who asked people to show her their Y-fronts. What a class act she turned out to be. And every week for the past 294 weeks, we've invited 150-odd people in to do little more than this. Yes, terribly close. Well done. So tonight, to thank our audience, to get them out of this converted shoebox of a studio, we're going to take them through the double doors and up 2 flights of stairs to the London Weekend Television Bar. To buy them a farewell drink and get them to wave goodbye to the viewers. A damn sight more fun than doing this. Right, come on, let's go. Come on, spend this budget. Come on, out. Come on, yes,
Chris,
many of you.
Do you know the way to the bar? Do you know
yes,
the way?
I think I can do it from memory.
Yeah.
Come on, this way, come on.
Up and through.
Bring your handbags just in case we run out of money. Come on, that's it.
Well, the 6 o'clock show's last ever commercial break approaches. Join us after the break for our grand finale and a look into the future. Back soon.
All ranges are reduced in sharp summer sale. Over 60 styles, saving you 20%, 30% and half price. A beautifully organized bedroom specially designed and built for your home. Liberating every last inch of storage space and saving up to half the price. Beautiful to look at, beautifully made. Sharp summer sale at over 30 showrooms in and around London. See Press and Yellow Pages for details. Sharp's beautifully organized bedrooms at sensational savings.
Say you, say me.
At British Telecom, we handle 70 million calls a day. From the smallest village to the busiest city, we're there. We bring together the busy, the lonely, the sad, the happy, the young and the old. We carry the news, both good and bad, momentous and trivial. A phone call is sometimes longed for, sometimes dreaded, but rarely ignored. As a company, we deal with technology of staggering complexity. But what we do is essentially simple.
Say you, say me.
Where distance divides, we unite.
Say it together, naturally.
British Telecom. It's you we answer to.
Limara, the only language your body needs.
Last year, no one replaced more lost or stolen travelers' checks than American Express. Order yours at any branch of Lloyds Bank.
Where shall we go next week? The Royal Tournament. We'll take the tube to Earl's Court, so we won't have much to shell out.
Are you a victim of violence? Or do you worry because you cause violence to other people? We would like you to help us with our survey on male violence. Please write for a survey form to Men on Violence, Free Post, Box 50, London, SE1 9BR.
It must be something I said. Welcome back. During tonight's show, the last ever, we've been taking a look at just how our area has changed since 1982. Here is Joanna Kaye, who's aged a great deal in the last 40 minutes.
Welcome back to about 1,200 feet above London. Now, Danny Baker has taught us all about a lot of things over the last 6.5 years, but none so much as this place. This is the Millwall Football Club. Yes, in the time we've been on the air, it's gone from the bottom of the third division to the first division, which I'm told apparently is extremely important. But if the Super League happens, that's all going to be irrelevant anyway, isn't it? But anyway, what we've really flown out here to see is not Millwall Football Club, but this. This is the Thames Barrier. Not much more interesting than a football club, it has to be admitted, but nonetheless a new landmark of London. It was opened in 1984, and in case, like me, you've always wondered what on earth it really is for, I can now tell you, it's to stop flooding. Yes, because of this enormous piece of modern art, we can all sleep soundly and dryly in our beds. Thank you very much. And one final view. In all these little boxes below are some millions of little television sets, which tonight will turn off the 6 o'clock show for the very last time. From us in the sky, it's goodbye.
Well, then, she was last seen, Joanna, heading for Belgium. Now, when we last saw our audience, they were heading for a little drink on the 2nd floor. Have they made it, Chris?
Well, yes, we're here, Mike. We had a bit of trouble because neither Danny or I obviously knew where the bar was.
I
so
didn't,
this is up here,
I
isn't
didn't
it?
know there was a bar in the
Extraordinary
building,
thing. Anyway,
Chris.
this
What
is
a
rather good.
fun idea.
Free London Weekend hospitality wine here, flowing like Araldite. So from all of us, enjoy the rest of the show, Michael. Goodbye, Michael.
Goodbye,
Have a good rest of the show.
So
The months of rehearsal paid off, didn't they?
They certainly did.
Michael.
See you, but I couldn't hear you, and they're only a couple of yards away. That's show business. In fact, our audience may just be about to catch a glimpse of the nautical Emma. Can you see her?
Yes, Michael, here I am. We're just coming up to the House of Commons. We passed all those ruffians on the bar, which our special guest now, Ken Nevison, thought was a picket line outside London Weekend, but we assured him it's not. Ken, we've got to the House of Commons. That's where you are now. Congratulations on making it there. Have you got an office yet?
No, I've still not got an office. Now I'm waiting to see whether the new MP, Mr. Fishface, or whatever,
Oh, the electric chair. Well, so far in our last ever show, we've looked at the past and the present. We're now going to risk a spot of prediction. Here is Danny, who's just come down 2 floors from the balcony.
Change and face the strain.
top of the NatWest Tower, the tallest building in Britain. But not for very much longer, because in about 4 years it will be dwarfed by a new giant just over there at Canary Wharf. A third taller than the NatWest, this skyscraper will really scrape the sky. Not only the tallest tower block in Britain, but Europe as well. Over at Crystal Palace, the future is in the past. The old place burnt down in 1936. By 1992, it will be reborn as a hotel and leisure complex.
Turn and face the strange. Changes. Don't wanna be a richer man.
The Pepsi power station is blazing a trail into the future. The electric cathedral is being turned into a massive fun palace with hot air balloon trips, parachute drops, an ice rink, laser shows, spinning flying saucers and high-tech adventure rides. Disneyland, eat your heart out.
The vision for Battersea is simply to have the greatest entertainment complex in the world, here in London.
Property prices have gone through the roof in the last few years. Today, the in-place to live is Chelsea Harbour. Tomorrow, estate agents predict it'll be Brixton.
Obviously, 5 or 6 years ago, there was riots here, and for 2 or 3 years, people were very, very sceptical about moving into Brixton. A lot of good things are happening now there. People are starting to move into the area. Residentially and commercially, things are starting to happen. So I think in the 1990s, what's happened in the Clapham and Wandsworth is also going to happen here in Brixton. So it's got to be very good. It's looking very good.
Who knows? In a few years, this Des Res might fetch a few million. And if you can't afford that, how about joining the growing band who use the new electric trains to commute from their bargain homes in Doncaster? Or the new Channel Tunnel to commute from France, where you can snap up amazing maisons like this for less than £50,000. Or you could join the new jet set as the stockbroker belt takes off in new directions. If all that's too depressing, you can always drown your sorrows. From August, the pubs will be open all day long. And there'll be more entertainment on the box. Satellite dishes will open up a huge choice of channels. No more just boring EastEnders and Wogan, but riveting stuff like the news from Moscow.
Сегодня день рождения Всесоюзной пионерской организации имени Ленина.
In the brave new world, it will be away with dreary old wind-driven saxophones. Just switch them on, and off they go. But you can't afford to get totally lost in music, because with this New World watch, you'll always be in contact with the world at large. Hello? Yes, it is. Fool. Man said it was a long distance from New York. These days, it is estimated there are more Walkmans in the world than old-fashioned cassette recorders themselves. But you can be the first on your block with this, the brand new mini television and video system. Video will be everywhere, yea, even in death. In America, they already have video graves. There's a TV built into the tombstone, so when putting flowers on the grave, the grieving can push a button and... Not so fast, LWT. You thought you could kill off the 6 o'clock show, eh? Well, you can't. The show may have gone, but I shall live forever.
Well, it's a nice thought. Actually, for the immediate future, we're going to try to re-establish contact with Emma out on the river. Am I right, Emma?
You are indeed, Michael. Sorry about that. We went under a bridge, which proves that it is live TV after all. I'm still with Ken. Now, Ken, how do you reckon that London has changed in the last 6 years? You're a man in the know.
Well, you've got this tremendous gap growing up, and a lot of each street, we've been passing houses that are going for over 250,000. At the same time, the bus and the tube system's breaking down, and London works best when actually people are working together and there's a stronger sense of community, and that's the tragedy. We're losing so many opportunities to bind Londoners together.
Absolutely. Well put. Ken, you've been on the 6 o'clock show, I would say, more times than I have. Do you have any fond memories of it?
It pays very well, but the other real joy and terrible embarrassment, they went back and did a thing digging out my old girlfriends when I saw a spotty 14-year-old, and I just died with humiliation when they produced this woman who said, he invited me up to his bedroom and said, would you like to hold my lizard?
Was it true?
It's true, but it was quite innocent. I did have a listen.
At least we do get the truth. Ken Livingston, thank you very much indeed. And it was lovely to have you followed as well. Michael Aspel from me, Emma Freud, for the very, very last time on the 6 o'clock show. It's bye-bye.
Yes. But she'll be at the little booze up later, of course. Now, Janet, I know that on a personal level, Danny's got a series lined up. I got 1 or 2 bits, and Chris and Emma are very well provided for. Tell us about your plans.
Well, I defected to the BBC about 6 months ago, and I run youth programming at the BBC, so I've turned it into a kind of executive, a kind of behind-the-scenes, bossy type person.
But do you miss broadcasting then? Are you doing some?
I may do in the future for the BBC, but sadly not here at London Weekend because I'm on an exclusive contract. Except they allowed me out tonight as a special favour because the 6 o'clock show is such a wonderful show.
We appreciate that. But you are a neighbour of the studios. You live very close, don't you?
Yes, I live just down the road. When we started off on the 6 o'clock show all those years ago, I used to live down in Docklands. I lived right on the river, and I used to have loads of disco boats coming up day and night, and tourist boats all day announcing my house, as if any Japanese tourists would know who I was. But now I live down the road in Smithfield, where thankfully no tourist buses can get down my street, but it's a fabulous area of London. I love living right in the middle of London, and I'm excited by the changes in London. It's terrible that Prince Charles attacks modern architects. When you go to a city like Paris, where the government actively support modern architecture, it's sad that we don't.
I think you're right. I think it looks superb. Last ever show, by the way, well, it's almost over. Danny, Chris and the audience are upstairs in the bar waiting to say goodnight, so thank you for joining us, Janet. See you soon. And before I bid you adieu, here is Pam Royle for LWT News with today's headlines and the weekend's weather.
Thanks, Michael. Fear of AIDS has closed breast milk banks at some hospitals in the region. Others are staying open, and experts are divided over whether it's safe for them to do so. The confusion's been created by a DHSS circular warning of the dangers of AIDS from donated breast milk. The department says all donors should be blood tested and the milk heat treated. A book that turns drunken British holidaymakers into heroes has been condemned by an MP. Tom Sackville, who's sponsored by the Travel Agents Association APTA, says it's irresponsible and should be withdrawn. Building workers are threatening to bring work on the new £240 million British Library to a standstill. 100 workers made redundant this afternoon say they'll picket the site until they're given their jobs back. And holidaymakers are being warned of more delays ahead at Gatwick. Thousands of travellers have already been forced to spend up to 24 hours camped in the departure lounge. Well, tomorrow's likely to be the brighter of the 2 days this weekend. It'll gradually worsen after that. Believe it or not, more rain is on the way. We've already had nearly twice as much as usual for July, and there's still 2 weeks to go. Anyway, the showers north and east of London will die out this evening, leaving us with a dry night, and although there'll be a fair amount of cloud around, there'll be some clear spells as well. Temperatures will fall to 11 or 12 Celsius, 52 to 54 Fahrenheit, and the winds are light from the northwest. Tomorrow will be quite bright and warmer than today. There'll be some sunshine in the morning and some brightness for the afternoon, but the cloud will thicken up then, and rain will push its way into the region by late afternoon, early evening, and it'll stay with us on and off throughout the night. Top temperatures tomorrow will be 21 to 22 Celsius, 70 to 72 Fahrenheit, and the wind still light northwesterly. As for Sunday, we'll have cloud and drizzle for most of the day. It'll be especially murky near the south coast, with mist coming in off the channel. And with temperatures around 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit, it'll be humid. The wind west to southwest at between 15 to 20 miles per hour. Well as being the last 6 o'clock show, it's the last day for the pollen count. It's low, and the forecast is low. That's it for now. So, Michael, for the very last time, goodbye from all of us.
Pam, goodbye, and thank you for your lovely present. It's much appreciated, and I'll think of something very nice for you, I promise.
Ooh, what?
Well, I promise you. That really is it. The very last goodbye for the very last time from the very last 6 o'clock show. All right, I'm going. A good night, then, from Danny, from Chris, and from Emma, and from our audience. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend. I think it's time to roll the very last roller. Goodbye. That's the last one. Oh, no, wait,
Michael.
Dan, just want to say thanks for all you've done for me in the last 6.5 years.
Don't mention it. The great thing is, nobody guessed. Nobody had an inkling.
Nobody knew nothing.
What a partnership we were.
You're a tough. Nice one, Dan.
See you on the
Back
ice.
to me roots, not on me.
Take care.
So,
what a sweet man. I wonder who he was.
Whenever and wherever they're needed, the police are there to answer your call. Here on the River Thames in London, downtown in New York, or in Sydney, Australia. Join us for a weekend out with the police, live across the world.
Police International, coming soon on LWT.
Woolworths Clever Buy sale is now on. Hundreds of savings on toys, fashion accessories, kids' clothes and books, plus lots more.
She was hot, and he knew it. He decided to put her out of her misery. Ski Cool. Pure yogurt, milk, and natural fruit juice, cutely blended to give the most refreshing drink a girl could ever have. New Ski Cool. Strawberry or orange. The delicious way to keep your cool.
When people come together, they make a force to be reckoned with. And over 1.5 million people make Standard Life one of the largest mutual life assurance companies in Europe. And as we don't have any shareholders, there's more for the people who entrust their pensions and savings to our experts. Standard Life. We're better off together.
Duracell is no ordinary battery. In this continuous test, Duracell lasts 6 times longer than ordinary zinc carbon batteries. Duracell. No ordinary battery looks like it or lasts like it.
There is a Friday feeling. I get it every day. And when I get that feeling, then a Crunchie comes my way. It's that Friday feeling. That Friday feeling's coming. I don't know where or when. But when it comes upon me, it's that Crunchie time again. The Crunchie, it's Friday. That Crunchie!
A bus pass isn't just for work, you know. You can use it to go for a bite. You can use it to pop out at weekends. It's a bargain not to be missed. For journeys long or short, the one-day or weekly bus pass.
Tomorrow, amid the romance of Italy, danger lurks. Anthony Andrews stars in Ticket to Ride.
How can we get married with your first wife in an Italian prison?
She's not invited to the wedding. Is she?
Give us Louisa Phillips by midnight, and you can have your fiancé back alive.
Why are they breaking down the door?
I don't know.
Why are they shooting at us?
I don't know.
A tale of mystery and suspense with a difference. Ticket to Ride, tomorrow at 8 on LWT.
Have you heard about Capital Gold? Hear the classic hits on Capital Gold, 15:48 a.m.
Only the lonely.
15:48 a.m. Pure Gold Radio every weekend.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you.
Strike gold every weekend with Capital Gold, 15:48 a.m.
1:30, find out which star lives here.
I was fascinated by the souvenir collection. It's got quite out of hand. In fact, he's got the ultimate souvenir, which is the house, which was obviously picked up at Disneyland.
Through the Keyhole, tonight at 7:30 on LWT.